This guitar costs 3 times more than this guitar. Is it 3 times better? Hey guys, my name's Dan Treadgold. I'm a full-time musician based here in the UK, and today we're going to be answering a very simple question. Can a guitar that costs 3 times less do the same job as a guitar that costs 3 times more? What guitars are we going to be comparing? Well, we're going to be comparing this, my workhorse guitar, my Martin M36, USA made, bought about 12 years ago. This has been with me for a very, very long time. It's been in studios, stages, festivals, tours, splitter van, whatever you can think of, it has been there. Why would I replace this guitar? I hear you asking. Well, I'm not really replacing it. What's happened over the last couple of years is that my work has moved sort of studio work and touring work to more live music based stuff. Obviously I'm playing on Friday and Saturday nights, so it's a lot of people out drinking, having a good time. Some people don't know how to drink and have a good time, and that normally results in people kind of invading your personal space, getting on the stage, trying to touch your stuff. It is just an expensive guitar to place. You know, the current retail price, according to Guitar, which I'll put on the screen now, somewhere in the remit of £3,200 to £3,400. I don't have that kind of money to replace this guitar, so I'm looking to downgrade essentially to something that I care less about when I play live, but it's still a good enough working guitar that, you know, is able to carry on with the full-time work that I do currently. What guitar are we downgrading to? Well, I landed on, after much extensive research, this, the Taylor limited edition 50th anniversary 217E Plus. It is 1/3 of the price. By definition, it is technically a downgrade, right? And it's not just a downgrade in terms of the price. From a traditional standpoint, it does have some downgrades. For example, laminate back and sides. It's Mexican made, it's not American made. You know, stuff like that, stuff that sort of technically defines it as a downgrade. But that being said, I think the reason I picked this guitar is actually for $10.99, again, from guitarguitar.co.uk. It's actually a lot of bang for buck. You know, it's, yes, it is laminate back and sides, but it's Taylor's sort of patented layered laminate, which from my experience does just sound better than, you know, most normal laminate guitars. It's got a torrefied Sitka spruce top, which is their kind of, you know, fancy term for like aging it, so it feels a bit more played in. You've got ebony, you've got an ebony board, you've got a tropical mahogany neck, I think. You've also got the ES2 pickup system, which is the pickup system that is in all of the top end Taylors. And part of the reason of switching to a more live facing guitar was to have a active pickup in it, because the Martin has a passive pickup in it, which was causing me problems because it was very low output. For all that it sounded amazing, we'd have to drive it really hard and it would get some problems. So how we tested this is a bank holiday weekend, which contains 5 gigs in 4 days, with the last day being a 7 till 2 a.m. stint. This purchase of this guitar has come out of necessity more than just pure experimentation. The guitar itself has actually picked up some injuries and some knocks, which I'll put some overlays of it now. But yeah, the binding on the back is coming off. It's been having that problem across the body for about 6 months. I'd already done a gig of it with it kind of hanging off. Normally I would take it straight to the tech to get it fixed, but he was ill. So to be honest, I just thought, what better way to test this theory of does a guitar that costs 1/3 of the price compete at a professional level than literally just buying it, ordering it online. It arrives the day of gig 1 and then just gigging it throughout. I've never played this guitar before, so really you can't get a more honest opinion. Before we get into those clips though, I'm going to do a sound by sound comparison. Just play a couple of different, you know, motifs and ideas, just so you sort of get a feel for them both. You know, the only specs that are probably worth noting is that they are both rosewood back and sides. They are both spruce tops. One of them is torrefied, one of them is just, you know, your standard Martin top. Rosewood fingerboard, the Taylor has a ebony fingerboard. So yeah, here are some sound clips, and then from there what we're going to do is we're going to go into some live clips that I'm going to film at the gigs, post-gig thoughts, things like that. And yeah, let's see how we get on, and then I'll review it all at the end. So let's go. the venue now. This is Greek Street in Leeds. We're going to Katie O'Brien's, which is just down there. I got a feeling it's going to be busy. It's been sunny today. I can feel it already. I just know it's going to be a late one tonight. Okay, so I'm back at the house. This is a post-gig one, first impressions. It's really good. It's a really, really good guitar. I couldn't really get the full effect of it gig one, mostly because it was a sunny day, and I think a lot of the crowd tonight was the kind of 3 pints, no dinner, as I like to call it. So people were being weird, and some people were being annoying. Which is not out of the ordinary, but it was when you get too many of the weird people, you kind of have to lock in and have a good show and just sort of think about the gig itself. But what I do remember from it is it feels really nice to play. It's very, very comfortable. I think it's got 12s on it. I'm used to playing 13s, so the tuning stability was probably more down to me hitting it too hard and it being a lighter gauge. The pickup sounds really, really good. I need to sit down with the quad and just kind of re-EQ and stuff like that, because I keep getting feedback issues in the monitor, which I thought was just the Martin, but it's this as well, so that must be something else. But overall, really, really happy with it so far. Survived Gig 1, felt really easy to play, looked good on stage. And yeah, looking forward to playing it tomorrow. Earlier slot, 6 till 8 instead of a 10 till 12. So that should be hopefully a gig where I can sort of sit down and spend a little bit more time ironing out like the details of it, basically. For those wondering about the setup with the quad, like am I just using it for guitar or not? I'm not. I'm running my vocal guitar and kick through that, and then just sending a stereo out to their desk. So if you guys want a video about that and how that works and how I make that work, because that was a bit of a game changer for me, gigging in bars with no sound engineers and liaising with very helpful bar staff that aren't sound engineers. Yeah, let me know, because that was actually quite a fun journey. Okay, gig number 2 of the week is the stage setup. God love this man. Quad Cortex, PA, mic, and then there it is. I'm having some feedback issues still. I can't really figure that out why, but I might speak to a bad sound engineer. So I'm working on that in the break, and then we'll get back in and see how we get on. Okay, gig 2 review. We're in York, beautiful day. I think that gig might be a bit inconsequential, to be honest with you. If that's the right word, I don't know. You know when you have one of those days, do you know what I mean? You know when like nothing's going right and you don't feel right from the minute you get up, and then you get to work and like you just make bad decisions, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of out of it. Like I was complaining about having feedback issues in my monitor, and then as I was packing up, I noticed that I hadn't put like the feedback, whatever that's called, in the sound hole. So like, no wonder I was having fucking feedback issues, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, when you're having one of those days, I also made a stupid decision to try something new with my quad Cortex as well, not just the guitar, which is really stupid, because not only did it not work, it meant that some of my criticisms of the guitar could be to do with the quad Cortex preset that I made, but not. But here's what I can tell you about the Taylor and what I like and what I don't like. Plays really well. It still plays really well. It's nice and easy to play. I was getting like straining issues in my left arm over the last kind of 3 or 4 months, and that's gone now. I haven't had that in either gig so far, so that's pretty good. I've missed having controls on my pickup. Obviously the passive pickup I had didn't have any volume or gain, so having a volume, treble and bass control has been amazing. Look at that, that's well nice, isn't it? It looks not bad. Say hi to YouTube, babe.
Hi, what? I can leave that in.
Let's try that again. She nearly died there. She nearly fell off a bloody cliff there.
Wait.
Hang on.
Not really scared.
Do you want to let's get the shot in.
Okay.
Have a little walk before gig number 3.
Steps in.
Getting the steps in, yeah, you know. Something you'll get to know when you shoot fan bass. I'm a big walker. Nothing, fitness is my life.
Every day.
Every day.
Step in.
Every day. You know what I mean? On a pound.
And where we're going next?
We're going to Holmfirth.
Holmfirth, yeah.
For a little markety, towny.
Yeah. Last of the summer wine.
Last of the summer wine. Right.
We can go to the Elephant and Castle pub.
Nice.
Not for a pint.
Not for a pint, because we're not doing that at the moment.
Kings for Health Queens now.
Health Queens, that's right, yeah.
And we can see the house that Jane McDonald went to where they filmed loads of clips.
An essential part.
Yeah, because we love Jane McDonald.
We sure do. Well, I'll report back shortly with some thoughts on the upcoming gig. But it's a 9 till 12 tonight in Leeds. Bank holiday Saturday. Gorgeous day. It's probably going to be mental.
When I was 13, I had my best love. There was nobody that could dance to my baby. Everybody gave me sweet something never go home. She got me going crazy. She woke me up daily.
Okay, gig 3, live reaction. First and foremost, if you're ever going to buy a new guitar and you're going to start gigging it immediately and use that as the testing ground for whether it's the right guitar for you, maybe don't pick a bank holiday weekend where you're playing to the busiest amount of people that you play to in the last couple of months. But that's on me, that's not a fault of the guitar. I had a mare there. In a way, I'm glad I didn't get that recorded, because I only started recording after the second set. But I wish, in a way, you could have seen what happened, because, I get on stage, it's heaving, it's bank holiday Saturday, it's 9 o'clock. It's about as busy as it's going to get. Lights come up. Ladies and gentlemen, please come to the stage. Dan Treadgold, yeah. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And then my guitar is super quiet for some reason, and I can't see why, because the volume's turned all the way up. My kick is coming through loudly. My vocal's coming through loudly. So the chord cortex isn't going wrong. So now, and also because it's all preset into the chord cortex, no one can help me. So I'm trying to play through the first song and make the best of it. For anyone who gigs, you'll know that starting a gig on a rough note with that many people, especially if you're playing by yourself, it can just be a bit difficult to kind of bounce back from. But we got there, and what I learned from that experience, which I think is the most important part of any mistake you make when you're playing live, is to what can you learn from it, is that, sorry, this lighting is so bad. Is that better? That is better. I learned that actually the pickup in this Taylor sounds really, really good. Once I got it figured out, it was actually, what I was looking for. The reason I bought it was so much more powerful, so much more present. I had the ability to EQ and change it on the fly. It's a little bit shrill, and I can't seem to find the biting point yet of enough top end that it's chimey, but not too much or too little that it's kind of harshing the vibe or just kind of being a bit underwhelming. But once we got there, it did sound amazing. It's still killing it on the playability scale. It seems to now, 2 gigs in, have really settled into the tuning and gotten used to how hard I'm hitting it. So far, so good, bar the fact that I made a complete tit of myself in front of 300 people to start off that gig. But we move, one more day of the bank holiday to go, 2 gigs left. Let's see how we get on. Okay, gig day number 4, Sunday, it's bank holiday Sunday. 2 gigs, so I'm gigging from 7 till 2 a.m. today. With about an hour and a half break, but I've got to get from Bradford back, drop my PA off, and then go back into town. Feeling tired today. This is kind of the worst part of a gigging weekend, I think. I try not to gig on Sundays, just because I don't know, it's Sunday, innit? I mean, you don't really want to work. But it's bank holiday, and that's where the money is, so like I'm not going to complain about that. Yeah, I'm just feeling a bit sort of bummed about yesterday. You know, it didn't really matter because like the gig went fine. Like, you know, if it hadn't have been a good gig and it would have been in like a problematic way, then someone from the bar or whatever would have reached out and told me that and done a good job. But knowing that you didn't do quite as well as you could do is just always it's a tough feeling. And as much as I like gigging on my own because it's easy, I don't have to rely on anybody else. The gigs when it's not as good as it could be, it's quite a lonely space. So I've been feeling a little bit bummed today. But you know, I'm not gonna let that get me down. I'm gonna you know, start packing up now because I've got to head off a bit early to get there in time to set up. I'm also testing something new at this gig, not just the guitar, but I also bought a PA system, like a sort of, I say portable, small PA system, which could be a whole other video in itself. So let me know if that's something that you guys would be interested in. I can make a video on that, but you'll see more of it in the next shot, presumably when I film the setup at the location that we're going to. So yeah, I'll see you there. Okay, so gig one of the day. Suppose S1 Pro. Quad Cortex, same setup as all the other gigs. It's busy pub. Seems nice and friendly. We'll see how we get on.
Oh, out in the night while you're laying it up, I'm off to sleep. Waging war against the pole, and it'll be that you. I hope it's gonna make you notice. I hope it's gonna make you notice. Someone like me.
Okay, first set down. Slight technical difficulties as always, but it was a new PA, new environment. I was trying to avoid the feedback thing, not play too loud. Do you know what I mean? For any big gigs in like local pubs, there's nothing worse than like just coming in and being like so deafeningly loud because it's quite chill in there. They're watching the football. But because of that, they're quite chill. You never know if they're enjoying it or not because you get kind of mixed claps. But then the owner just said, people are loving it, they're having a great time. He's really happy and he's paying, so that's all that really matters. So yeah, feeling much better now. Kind of got the confidence back, ready to get in there and have some fun. Let's do this.
There's always gonna be another mountain. Always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes you gotta have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. All right now, fellas. I said what's cooler than being cool.
Gig number 5 of the bank holiday weekend done, and man, what a relief. I was pretty nervous about my voice because you know, what is it like? Must have been 7 or 8 hours of singing I've done since Thursday, high energy singing, but we got there. Pretty hilarious about the string break from the Taylor in the early gig. Didn't survive the string break test for the weekend, but pretty heavy-handed. I'm not going to blame the guitar for that. What was massively helpful this time, though, actually, was this venue has a sound engineer. So normally I bring my quad Cortex anyway, but then we do a kind of more like traditional setup because I've got someone to help me balance things out. But I've had problems with that recently, and it hasn't really been working out the way I want to. So I just brought a tuner, and you know, my kick pedal, which felt super nostalgic and paid off. It sounded great, and it felt good to play. Didn't break a string, so that's all I can ask for. And I guess a little bonus for me was that the night just kind of died off. I think, you know, the bank holiday, late night Sunday, you know, finishing at 2 a.m. It's hard for people who've been drinking all weekend to stay out that late. So feeling good. I'm going to get an Uber home and then I'm going to spend my bank holiday Monday doing nothing. Well earned, because I just paid my rent and most of my bills in this weekend, so that's pretty huge. Right, okay, couple days off, so it's time for closing statements, final review. Was this worth it? Can it do the job of a guitar that costs 3 times the price? What I like, obviously I mentioned across the video that the playability has been really great on this thing. I don't need to really reiterate that. One thing I've failed to mention up to now that I think is actually quite important, how this guitar sounds just, acoustically. It's an amazing sounding guitar. I think Taylor often get credited for how good they are as a live guitar and how functional they are and how practical they are. And they don't often get their flowers for just sort of how good a job they do sonically. I've got to give it full marks for the fact that it sounds amazing. It's a really amazing sounding acoustic. Tuning stability. Okay, so I've mentioned that a few times earlier in the video about like having tuning issues and then it kind of settling in and stuff like that. What I didn't mention is that I actually down-tuned this guitar because I down-tune all of my guitars when I play live. Dropping a guitar a whole step, straight out of the box, normally comes with problems. And, the guitars normally need setting up to sort of, be playable in different tunings. I took my Martin to the tech yesterday to drop the guitar off, and I asked him just to quickly look at this to see if it needed tweaking. This isn't a sort of a testament for Taylor. I don't know what is. He had a look at it, and he was like, I'm surprised this didn't arrive in D standard. This has settled in so nicely. I don't know what part of the guitar I'm giving credit to there. I've never had that. I've never really had a guitar where I can just down tune it a whole step and it just be fine. Let's talk pickup, because I feel like my review of the pickup across the video was mostly positive. And it is mostly positive. I do think it's a great sounding pickup, but with the caveat of it's a great sounding pickup once you get it right, because if you don't get it right, it can actually sound really horrible. Now, is that true of anything? Yes. But the treble control on this ES2 pickup system is like, if 12 o'clock is just a little bit too bright, 11 o'clock is way too dark, 1 o'clock is like ice picking, stabbing in your ears. What I've found is that getting the balance between the bass and the treble is actually what's more important than just cutting bass or adding treble. They don't really feel like a high and low pickup. It feels like they're kind of collectively responsible for, low, mids and lower, and then mids and higher. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It was just, again, if I hadn't just started gigging this guitar without any prior sort of experience with it, maybe I would have been able to figure that out and make life easier for myself. But yeah, I wish I'd done that, because there was a couple of times across this gig, the gigs this weekend, where I did feel like this guitar was just really like putting people off, actually, because of how bad it sounded. Once I got it fixed, once I found the sort of sweet spot, then I was getting all of those things about the preamp that I did really enjoy. It was powerful, it was punchy, but it's still a good pickup, and I think it still does the job. And to be honest, you can't really put a price on a battery pack being on the outside that's not also attached to a preamp. That was a huge reason why I went with a Taylor, which sounds so mental, but for anybody who's gigged, if you break a string or your battery dies, the time between that incident happening and you being back and playing needs to be as short as possible. For all that it seems like a simple feature, like that being right there and just being like a little flick and out, honestly, you can't put a price on that for me. What don't I like? There is something lacking in the resonance, which I don't know. It was affecting my ability to hear the pitch of the guitar live, which was quite weird. I don't know if I just become accustomed to like the resonance of the guitar. It resonates literally through the body to the back. I can feel it in my chest, and I didn't realize how much that was actually helping me, perceive pitch. Now it might just be me. I might just be me mental. If I had to pick a fault with it, it would be that the phase switch inside the sound hole. I tried that 3 or 4 times. It didn't seem to do anything. I also find it quite difficult to reach. It's sort of here, but it's like right at the back. That feels like that should be something that's like, if you're gonna have controls here, why not just have a switch there? I don't know why that has to be there. I've got quite small hands, so it's reaching again in a fiddly moment on stage. it just feels like a lot to do, and ultimately it didn't make a difference. So we come to the final question, the final review. Does this guitar do the job of a guitar that costs 3 times its price? You know, really, it's a resounding yes. You know, I think, to be honest, as I said at the start of the video, a guitar of that quality is unnecessary for the kind of work that I'm currently doing. We want guitars that feel great to play and feel really nice to play, but actually, to be honest, having done this work for, you know, this specific line of work for over 18 months, if I can give any advice to anybody who's entering this world, who's looking to invest in equipment and stuff like that, you want there to be quality, you want there to be, you know, comfort and ease and enjoyment in what you're playing. Actually coming in at a price point where you are less anxious about what you're playing and who gets access to it when you're not looking and how on guard you have to be is actually worth far more to me than a solid back or a, you know, a really rare wood on the fretboard. You know, it's, for all that stuff does make a difference, and I think it makes a difference certainly in the studio. You know, I would bet recorded properly you would really hear the difference between this and the Martin. But through a PA with 300 drunk people screaming "Don't look back" in anger over you, you know, it sounds like what it sounds. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments down below what you liked and what you didn't like. If there's any questions that you felt like I was going to answer and I didn't, or things I didn't address that I could maybe address in another video. Thank you so much for watching. We did it, my first YouTube video ever made. I'm finally on the board, and here's to many more, hopefully. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great week. And if you're thinking about having a career in music, why the hell not? Just go for it, right? All right, cheers.